We can truly sit here and say that he's arguably the best passer in the draft.
So adding some depth inside that quarterback room, paramount. And the
bottom line is, if you don't think he's going to be there in the second round,
you got to move up. You're going to have to make something happen.
You know, especially in the pocket. Obviously, the off-schedule throws and all that type of stuff out of the pocket, you get that to Caleb.
Yeah.
But inside the pocket, this dude is phenomenal.
There's about 6 or 7 teams in the top 13 that want a quarterback.
He is an intriguing prospect. The only question is where do you place him?
The Las Vegas Raiders are an interesting team to look out for, and with the signing of Gardner Minshew, they find themselves in a situation where it's hard for many people to key in on what they're trying to go for in terms of the NFL draft. Some people like Mel Kiper and ESPN have them taking a defensive player like Terry Arnold, and other people have them taking maybe a tackle, let's say Talicia Fuaga, and it all depends on who's available at that time. I'm personally big on taking the best player left on the board, and we will see who that is when the time comes. But what about the quarterback position? Currently, the Raiders have 2 quarterbacks on their roster who will compete for the starting job. Aiden O'Connell is a person who Antonio Pierce said has earned the right to compete for that starting job, and they also have Gardner Minshew, who they signed this year to a $25 million deal. The top guys in Caleb Williams, Jane Daniels, and Drake May will be gone before the 13th pick in the draft. But there is one particular quarterback that I believe they should look at drafting, maybe trading out of the second round into the bottom of the first if he is still available, and that is Micheal Penix Jr. if they don't decide to just outright draft him at 13. We're going to talk about that in this video, but before we do that, make sure that you guys hit that like button, comment, and also subscribe to the channel. We're on the way to 2K, so help a brother out. And with that being said, let's get into this video. So there are a lot of people interested in JJ McCarthy and Bo Nix, but my favorite quarterback in this draft that is not named Caleb Williams or Jane Daniels has to be Micheal Penix Jr. And I know many will say that he is way too injury prone to spend a first round pick on. Well, if that's your argument, I cannot deny that. He has had his share of injuries. In 2018 and 2020, he had an ACL tear. In 2019, he also had a clavicle fracture, and then in 2021, he had an AC joint separation. However, if you take that into consideration, I do ask that you also take into consideration that during the last 2 seasons of his college career, he remained relatively healthy. In those 2 years, he threw for 4,641 yards, 31 touchdowns, and 8 interceptions. That was in 2022. He followed that season up with a 4,903 yard, 36 touchdown season with 11 interceptions. The national title game, I know it scared a lot of people away. It did, but I cannot deny that he did not play his best. I think he missed some throws in that game. He was under duress the entire time. But if it was not due to injury, many would consider him alongside those top 3 names, I believe, in this draft right now. Another team that is rumored to have interest in Micheal Penix Jr. is the Seattle Seahawks. Of course, they just they completely stole Ryan Grills from the University of Alabama and hired him as their offense coordinator. He was also the coordinator of Washington last year. Of course, I'm pretty sure you guys know this, but it makes a lot of sense, right? You go to a place where you know the OC already, but I don't exactly believe that the Seahawks will go in that direction. Maybe I'm wrong, but the Seahawks look to be fine with Geno Smith there, and more than likely are going to prioritize surrounding that team with more talent. So with that in mind, the next team that I have in mind would be the Raiders. And you might ask why. Well, they have a new head coach in Antonio Pierce, and many times these new head coaches would love to have their guy, especially if the guy is not already like there. If you believe that there is some discrepancy, if you believe that there are question marks, there's a mystery, then usually that head coach wants to go and get their guy. Look, in Denver, you had Sean Payton, who as soon as he got in, he did not trust Russ at all. Some people say he gave him a hard time. I am one of those guys. I think he gave Russ too much of a hard time, but at the same time, you can tell from the beginning of his time in the city of Denver, he did not believe that Russ was the guy at all. He heard things before going into that situation, and so he did not give Russ a chance. I don't think this is the same thing we're going to see with Antonio Pierce, but it's something to keep your eyes on. I believe Antonio Pierce would love to groom a guy that he could somewhat believe in, and so I think that's where Micheal Penix Jr. comes into play. They have Gardner Minshew and Aiden O'Connell there. We know what Gardner Minshew is, and me being a Colts fan, I appreciate everything he did in order to make the Colts somewhat exciting at certain times, but I also know there was a lot of headaches during the season. Somebody who tried to watch every single Colts game, I know how it is. There was some pain in there. There was some happy times in there, you know. So we all know Gardner Minshew is no rookie. Gardner Minshew has been around for a while, and he is a journeyman quarterback. Somebody who can keep you afloat when need to, but at the same time, he's not a quarterback that is going to lead you to the Super Bowl unless somehow, some way, he has some Nick Foles type of year. But let's look at the next guy, Aiden O'Connell, and I think this is where a lot more mystery is. And so someone in Aiden O'Connell who actually played well down the stretch, and I'm not saying he played great, but he played good enough to deserve a chance to prove himself, okay? And so I believe that Aiden O'Connell will have a shot, just like Coach said, in training camp, in OTAs or wherever, to prove that he may be the guy. I think he deserves a shot at the starting QB job, but even with all that being said, he is still a question mark at the end of the day. And if the 49ers showed us one thing, it may not be a bad idea to have more quarterbacks on your roster. One may turn out to be a Brock Purdy. You may have some injuries here. You may have some injuries there. You just never know. And although Micheal Penix Jr. has his flaws, some scouts point out that he is not the best at off-script throws. He is not as accurate outside of the pocket. He is also known as somebody who was not necessarily known to use his athleticism, and sometimes he may have taken more risks than he need to. I believe in the pro day he showed that he can be more athletic than the tape might say or suggest. And so if you look at that pro day, he ran a sub 4.6. He also had a 36.5-inch vertical jump, so I think he is a little bit more athletic than meets the eye. And so I believe he is somebody who can work on his off-script playmaking ability, but who knows? The Raiders could go in a completely different direction. Micheal Penix Jr. could fall to the second round. I believe that will be the best case scenario for the Raiders. I do not believe that they will trade up, but I believe they should trade up and get him. It's probably going to be a situation like we saw last year with the Tennessee Titans. Look at a guy like Will Levis. The Tennessee Titans had Ryan Tannehill and Malik Willis on that roster, just like the Raiders right now have Gardner Minshew and Aiden O'Connell on their roster. And so you may see the Raiders just sit back, let everything fall where it may fall, and draft Micheal Penix Jr. in the second round. I think that is the more realistic expectation. And that way, the expectations are a lot smaller. You probably won't see Micheal Penix Jr. play a whole lot in that first season, if at all. And so that makes it a little bit easier. You let them battle it out in camp. See exactly who understands the playbook more, see who's better prepared to go right then. And I believe that head coach Antonio Pierce will make the right decision. But with all of that being said, even if the Raiders are not the team to draft Micheal Penix Jr., whether that's the Denver Broncos or the Vikings or whoever else needs a QB, I believe that Micheal Penix Jr. at some point in time down the line will show and have some success in the NFL. But we shall see. It's going to be interesting to see where all of these QBs go, whether that's a Bo Nix, whether that's a JJ McCarthy, Drake May. I think Jaden Daniels and Caleb Williams will go 1 and 2, even though Drake May is still in that mix a little bit, but I think they will go 1 and 2, Caleb Williams and Jaden Daniels. We will see though. But let me know your thoughts and opinions down below in the comment section. Where do you believe Micheal Penix Jr. will go? Where do you think he should go? Don't forget to like, comment, and also subscribe. I'll see you in the next video.